Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has lost his appeal against a prison sentence for corruption. However, the Paris Appeals Court ruled that he could serve his time at home wearing a tag instead of going to jail. In 2021, Sarkozy was sentenced to 3 years in prison, including 2 suspended for trying to influence a judge in a separate case. The 68-year-old was the first former president to get a custodial sentence. The United Nations is urgently seeking some $3 billion to fund humanitarian operations in Sudan. It's expecting more than 1 million people to flee the country as fighting rages between the army and rival militia forces. The UN's Humanitarian Affairs Coordinator said more than half Sudan's population of 25 million people needed aid and protection. He says it's the highest number ever seen in the country.
We aim to reach 18 million people. The funding requirements of nearly $2.6 billion is also the highest for any humanitarian appeal for Sudan. And we launched it together with the refugee response plan that my UNHCR colleague, Mr. Mazou, will speak to, because the crisis in Sudan is rapidly evolving into a regional crisis. The needs in Sudan are fundamental and widespread, as you can expect from a conflict.
A group of primary school children has suffered traumatic, life-changing injuries after a horrific bus crash in Melbourne in Australia. The bus was carrying 45 students when police say it was hit by a truck from behind and rolled on Tuesday afternoon. Some 18 children, aged 5 to 11, were rushed to hospital, many for emergency surgery. One remains in intensive care. The truck driver has been charged with dangerous driving, causing serious injury. New Zealand police have launched a homicide inquiry into a fire at an emergency housing hostel in Wellington, where at least 6 people were killed. Officials said up to 20 people are still missing, and they were treating the blaze as an act of arson. The fire had broken out at the 4-storey Loafers Lodge hostel early on Tuesday, forcing residents to the rooftop and some to jump from windows. Due to the damage, police have not yet been able to confirm the death toll. Strong winds have ripped through villages in Myanmar, where hundreds are feared dead after a powerful storm hit. The impoverished Rakhine state bore the brunt of the cyclone, during which winds of up to 210 kilometers per hour ripped roofs off homes. The United Nations official said 5.4 million people were expected to have been in the storm's path, the majority of whom were considered vulnerable. At least 8 people have died and thousands have been evacuated from their homes as devastating floods hit Italy's northern Emilia-Romagna region, with warnings that worse may be yet to come. Officials said dead bodies had been found in the towns of Forlì, Cesena and Cesenatico, while 3 people there were missing. 14 rivers broke their banks in the region, forcing people in cities such as Cesena to climb onto the roof of their buildings, where firefighters rescued them with helicopters or rubber dinghies. A village in Switzerland has been entirely evacuated due to fears of a large landslide. Hear rocks falling down the mountainside towards houses in Brianz in eastern Switzerland. The Brianz population of less than 100 people had been given until Friday evening to evacuate. And a crowd adorned in white and yellow shirts have gathered at Sanam Loang grounds in Bangkok to participate in the royal ploughing ceremony, which was attended by King Maha Vajiralongkorn. Many of them farmers, the participants were quick to collect grains of rice used in the ceremony, marking the start of the rice cultivation season. Many Thais believe the collected rice is a divine gift and will be able to help bring about lush rice fields and abundant crops. During the ceremony, oxen grazed on grass and partook in liquor, serving as symbols of plentiful water sources, flourishing agriculture and a prosperous economy. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.